Just an hour before the Daytona 500 qualifying rounds, Nascar filed a 68-page appeal that sent shockwaves through the racing world. This appeal was against a federal judge's ruling that allowed 23XI Motorsports and Front Row Motorsports to get the same benefits as chartered teams for the 2025 season. NASCAR argued that the ruling was wrong, went against antitrust laws, and disrupted the way the sport had operated for years. This case started months earlier. In December, U.S. District Judge Kenneth Bell issued a preliminary injunction in favor of 23XI and Front Row. This decision gave them the same financial rewards and race guarantees as charter teams while the legal case continued. NASCAR had already asked the judge to throw out the case, but he denied that request. NASCAR also asked that the two teams post a bond, meaning they would have to return any money received if they lost in court. That request was denied as well. NASCAR believes this ruling forces them to treat two teams, who are currently suing them, as equal business partners. They claim it is unfair and could damage the mutual trust that has helped the sport grow. That is why they filed their appeal on Wednesday, just before the Daytona 500 qualifying session. NASCAR had no choice but to challenge the ruling before the deadline. NASCAR has remained mostly silent about the case in public, but they strongly believe they have a winning legal argument. They argue that 23XI and Front Row refused to sign the new charter agreement when NASCAR gave teams a 48-hour deadline before last season's playoffs. Out of 15 teams, only these two refused. NASCAR's position is clear. Just because they didn't like the contract's terms doesn't mean they have an antitrust case. If 23XI and Front Row win, NASCAR might remove the charter system entirely instead of negotiating new agreements. That would be a massive change for the sport. NASCAR insists that every other team accepted the new charter deal, but these two chose not to. Despite better terms being offered, 23XI and Front Row still rejected them. These two teams then went to court to try to secure what they had originally turned down. NASCAR claims that neither team had raised concerns about the charter system during 2 years of negotiations. They argue that 23XI and Front Row are now using the legal system to get an advantage that they missed out on in normal negotiations. The charter system was introduced in 2016 to bring stability to team ownership. It guarantees that charter teams get automatic spots in every race, along with financial perks like prize money and sponsorship benefits. Each race has 36 chartered spots and 4 open spots for non-chartered teams. Because 23XI and Front Row refused to sign the new charter deal, NASCAR considers them open teams, which means they wouldn't have a guaranteed place in races. The situation got more complicated when Stewart-Haas Racing shut down. 23XI and Front Row bought charters from Stewart-Haas to expand their teams. Normally, this would have given them the same race guarantees as other charter teams, but because NASCAR didn't recognize them as charter teams for 2025, all 6 of their cars would have been forced to compete as open entries instead of guaranteed starters in the Daytona 500. That meant big-name drivers like Tyler Reddick, Riley Herbst, and Bubba Wallace from 23XI Motorsports, as well as Zane Smith, Todd Gilliland, and Noah Gragson from Front Row Motorsports could have been left out. NASCAR's legal argument is that the court's decision disrupted their entire 2025 season plan. After 23XI and Front Row declined their final charter offers, NASCAR adjusted race prize money, changed the number of guaranteed race positions, and shared those updates with teams preparing for the new season. By suddenly allowing these two teams to be chartered after they rejected the deal, NASCAR believes the sport's competitive balance has been thrown off. For NASCAR, this case is about more than just these two teams. It's about maintaining control over how the sport operates. NASCAR wants the charter system to reward teams that fully commit to the sport's future, not those who turn to the courts for a better deal. There is also concern over what happens if 23XI and Front Row win. NASCAR could be forced to remove the charter system completely. This would leave all teams scrambling for race entries each season instead of having long-term guarantees. That could shake up the business side of NASCAR in ways that no one fully understands yet. Many teams are frustrated by the situation. Teams that signed the new charter agreement believe 2311 and Front Row made a mistake by not accepting the deal when they had the chance. If NASCAR is forced to give them charters now, it could set a bad precedent. It could encourage other teams to reject deals and later sue for better terms, and NASCAR wants to avoid that scenario. 2311 and Front Row see things differently. They believe NASCAR's charter system is unfair and violates antitrust laws. They argue that NASCAR gave teams no real choice when presenting the new charter deal just 48 hours before the playoffs. Their legal claim states that NASCAR used its power to force teams into agreements they didn't like, which is why they're fighting back in court. The legal battle is not just about money, it's about power. NASCAR wants to keep full control over how teams enter races and earn rewards. 2311 and Front Row believe teams could have and should have more say in how the sport is structured. Some experts think this case could drag on for months. Others believe NASCAR might look for a settlement to avoid long-term damage to the sport's reputation. If the court sides with 2311 and Front Row, NASCAR could be forced to make major changes. If NASCAR wins, it will reinforce their authority and show that teams must follow their rules. No matter what happens, the case has already changed the way people see NASCAR's business operations. It has also put 2311 and Front Row in a spotlight that neither team expected. They took a major risk by challenging NASCAR's system, and now they're waiting to see if that risk pays off. Now we all know that Denny Hamlin is one of the best drivers in the history of the Daytona 500, yet he still does not have a Cup Series title to his name. He has won this legendary race 3 times with back-to-back victories in 2019 and 2020. Most drivers dream of winning the 500 just once, yet Hamlin has done it multiple times. However, even with all his success in this race, he still has one goal left: to finally win the NASCAR Cup Series championship. Hamlin's dominance at Daytona is something that many legends never achieved. Ryan Blaney, Kyle Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, Brad Keselowski, and Kyle Larson are some of the biggest names in NASCAR, but none of them have won the Daytona 500. Even Hall of Famers like Tony Stewart, Rusty Wallace, Mark Martin, Terry Labonte, and Ricky Road never captured this race. Winning the Daytona 500 is a rare accomplishment, and Hamlin has done it more than once. On Wednesday, Hamlin showed once again why he's one of the best at this track. In the first practice session of the week, he set the fastest time, hitting an impressive speed of 187.4 miles an hour. His strong start is a reminder that he knows exactly how to handle this track better than most drivers on the grid. But Hamlin also admits that winning at Daytona has changed over the years. Off the track, he is also involved in these legal battles in NASCAR history. For Hamlin, the off-season was not just about preparing for races, it was also about dealing with legal matters. But now that the season is here, he is shifting his focus back to racing. He said that he does not need to be involved in the legal process for the next few months, so he can concentrate on competing and trying to win his first championship. Now, before you leave, just don't forget to give this video a like, smash that subscribe button, and also ring that notification bell while you're down there.